So welcome everybody to our next installment of our Rubin Virtual Internship Series. I'm Danny Rubin, founder of our company, which is Rubin, R-U-B-I-N. And we provide online curriculum for business communication skills, email etiquette, phone etiquette. Teachers, show of hands, how many of you believe that email etiquette is important to teach students as they go out there and seek jobs using the phone? These are the skills that we teach: virtual presentation skills, those people skills, 21st century skills, whatever you want to call them, employability. That's what we're all about. So happy to have you today. A really exciting guest, a fun guest. It's going to be a great conversation. And before we dive into that, I want to, as we always do, pass along some resources first to the teachers. If you missed our previous sessions, actually quickly, show of hands or tell me in the chat, how many of you are new here? Who is new to our webinars? Teachers, students, tell me who's a first timer today? All right. Let me pull up some slides and get the chat going. Second, it always goes away on me. And I want to mention, for those of you who would like to continue using the sign language services, please pin Miss Alyssa Blue in Zoom so that you can see her the entire time. Okay. Please pin her in Zoom. Okay, so wrong screen first. For the teachers who are interested, we always like to pass out free stuff, free resources stemming from what we're going to cover today. And we put together a Google folder of worksheets and presentations for the teachers to give to the students. Skills like identifying the parts of an email, why you need to capitalize your I's. How many teachers see students using lowercase I a lot in emails, documents, taking that text behavior right into a professional setting, learning how to write professional looking text messages, which we'll do a little bit of at the very end today, how to sign your name in cursive. How many teachers believe it's important students know how to sign their name in cursive out there in the world? Lots and lots of ready-made stuff that you can grab and go. We also put together a checklist for how to give effective online presentations. This is for teachers or students. Some food for thought about how to prepare, what to say, how to deliver it. Lots of good tips that you can put next to your computer the next time you're about to do a virtual presentation. So lots and lots of stuff inside of a Google folder. And for the teachers who are interested, as we always do, all you need to do is go to the chat, okay, and type your email address and the word interested. That's all you have to do. Email address, the word interested. And for the new folks here, the new ones who are new to our community, we like to have a quick phone call in the coming days to say hello, pass this information along, help you understand it, help you fit it into whatever classes you are teaching. So it's just a way to say hello. It's very hard to do that in these big webinars and just lots of names. And we'd much prefer to meet you in person. Maybe one day we could do that again at a conference. Wouldn't that be nice? But right now, just put your email, interested, we'll follow up, pass it along, and learn more about the work that you're doing to make your students stronger communicators. Okay, so feel free to keep putting your information in the chat. For the sake of time, I want to keep us going through the slides so we can get to our special guest. Okay. All right. So the next thing that we have coming up, as you know, we always have another webinar, and our next one will be on March the 10th. We will learn about the world of practicing law. We have two expert attorneys in Washington, D.C., Heather Steele and Leonard Tango, who cover real estate and small business law for their practice in the nation's capital. Do we have any teachers here who are interested in showing their students the world of practicing law? Any hands? Curious to know. We've had this request from several different CTE teachers, so we wanted to include law in our virtual internship series. So this will be on the 10th of March, 1:30 in the afternoon again. And for those who are asking, we are going to rotate our times between 1:30 and 12:30, Wednesdays and Thursdays. We're kind of mixing it up so that we can invite as many students as possible. So this one will be in a couple of weeks, 1:30 Eastern, all about learning what it means to be a practicing attorney. Okay, so you'll see information about that tomorrow morning at the registration page, but I wanted to put on your radar now. Also, for everyone who is here today, and for teachers, if you show this webinar to students at a later time, they can get this too. We'll be giving everybody tomorrow morning a certificate for being here today, all about social media marketing. Okay, so you can use this in a portfolio, in a binder, wherever you want to take it. It's yours to have, and we'll send that out tomorrow morning. Okay, so that's everything that sort of our housekeeping I want to cover. Let me turn off the screen share. Okay, and come back on screen for just a moment. And again, who we are, we provide a broad curriculum for all kinds of topics: email etiquette, phone etiquette, life skills, entrepreneurship, communication. We have any marketing business teachers today? I know we do. We have some DECA advisors, FBLA. Who's in the house today? We provide lots and lots of resources that teach communication skills for employability, entrepreneurship, and leadership. And we're going to be drawing from those techniques today for our conversation with our special guest. Let's see, we have FBLA, we have transition, BPA, excuse me, left them out, Business Professionals of America. Okay, we have lots of different advisors here, DECA advisors, different classes that teach marketing and social media. Perfect, so glad to have you. So let's go ahead and bring our special guest back in. Hopefully she didn't run off. There she is. All right, we have Marnie Nathanson, who is a social media marketing and influencer marketing, PR expert, been in the field a long time, has a lot of great experience to share with us. I would first let her introduce herself with her quick bio, and then I have a question for her, and then we'll start taking questions from all of you. And let me just say it while I'm thinking of it, students, please start putting your questions, or teachers, put the questions for Marnie in our Q&A, start building up our question bank, and I'll be pulling from that. So Marnie, go ahead and say hello.
Hi, thank you for having me. Again, my name is Marnie Nathanson. I am the founder and president of a company called the Social Status Co. And that is a 360-degree digital agency based in New Jersey, but we have clients internationally. We do social media management, content creation, PR, influencer marketing, and events. My background is actually in television production and development. So I worked in that industry for, almost a few years.
Right.
And when social media started emerging, I realized that social media was really the same thing as TV development, just bite size. So I pivoted all of my skills to help two startups with their social media, and then decided to launch my own business in 2015.
Wow. Wow. So you've really seen the business from a lot of different angles, and we'll get into that. And so I have a first question for you. And for
Sure.
for the students and teachers who have been here before, what do I always encourage you to do? And what do I always do as a first question? What do I show that I've done with this special guest? Can anybody tell me in the chat? There we go, right away. And Jessica and everybody else, please put all panelists and attendees as your setting. So we already had 3 answers right there. Research, research, research. I always encourage the research before you meet somebody new. So let me show you the research that I did, and I'll pose a question to Marnie. So let me share my screen, okay? So what I did, and I sent all of you the same link. I sent you to the website, which is a really cool website. And I went first, and I always encourage you to look at a page like media or latest news, or the one I'm always looking for, which is press. Because, you know, you could look at a company's mission statement, they're about us, but that kind of stays the same. The newest, best, greatest stuff is in the press area. That's what the stuff they're proud of, what they're doing most recently. So I went to the press page, and there's a lot of cool stuff here. I could have asked about anything, but this one caught my eye, this Runway of Dreams to host virtual adaptive runway show. And I know you have one coming up in March. This one was from September. But then I went to the link and I read a little bit about the adaptive runway show that happened in September. And I was just curious to know, like, what's a virtual adaptive runway show, first of all, and how does that factor into the work that you do in social media and marketing? So let me first ask you that question. What is this event all about, and what did your company do? What role did you play?
Sure. So my first client actually in 2015 was Runway of Dreams Foundation. Runway of Dreams is a nonprofit organization that works toward a future of inclusion in the fashion industry. The owner, Mindy Shire, has an amazing TED Talk that I suggest everybody takes a look at. I can send that to you, Danny, to circulate.
Please.
So every year we do a fashion show with Runway of Dreams, typically during New York Fashion Week. My company is in charge of booking all of the models, working with all of them, working with the companies who are offering the adaptive clothing for the models to wear on the runway. And then we also do all the social media and the PR for this company. So we are truly the in-house digital team for Runway of Dreams. And additionally, she also has a talent management company called Gamut Management, which solely represents models with differences and disabilities. And we do the same thing for that company as well.
Wow.
So because of it's
seems like very meaningful work.
It is awesome. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So,
and go ahead, finish that thought.
I was going to say, so we typically do it in person during New York Fashion Week, and because of COVID, we decided to pivot and go virtually, which actually ended up being phenomenal because we had models who couldn't typically get to New York, and we had an international show. And because of the success of the show, we had over 500 million impressions from our press. So it was really, really amazing. And our next show is in Miami on March 8th. And we have 45 models, all of whom have a disability or difference.
Amazing. Question for the students. I just heard a really big number of impressions from that first event. What was that number you heard? Can someone tell me in the chat? What was that number? That was a big one. 500 million impressions. And I always stress to students that the importance of numbers. Right? If you want to tell somebody the size and importance of something you've done, you got to use your numbers, right? I mean, if Marnie said we had a lot of impressions online, what's a lot? Who would have ever thought it was 500 million? You would have thought a number far lower than that. So the numbers really matter. And let me ask Marnie, we were talking about this before we went on, that what we just did, that I came to you with a question coming out of your website, out of your press page. When you are looking at interns, tell me how that approach hits you.
Absolutely. I mean, whether it's, and I said this before, whether I'm interviewing interns or I'm trying to close a new client, I want to know that they have done research on us so that we can have a conversation. It's not, it becomes an icebreaker when you can mention, I saw this on your website, or I read this great article about you, or I found this article about you 3 years ago. I've always wanted to work at Sesame Street. What was it like? Knowing about the person you're speaking to just helps move conversation along, and also shows that you actually care enough about why you're showing up. We recently just interviewed an intern who we started asking questions. You've been to our website. What questions do you have for us? And the response was, I actually haven't been to your website yet. And I just said, thank you so much for your time. We're done here.
Wow. Can everybody hear what she just said? Because I've been saying it until I'm blue in the face. But when she says it, she said, if you do not show up having read her website, you're not getting past, it's done, it's over. See you later. And you know what? That's the honest truth. That's the real world. She's a very busy person, and she needs to find people who are serious. So you got to come with it if you sit in a room like that. And I really wanted you to understand this. If you learn nothing else from our webinars, it's this approach. It's doing your homework. It makes such a difference. I want to kind of hop back in your career. When I was reading about you and learning about you, Sesame Street and the NBC Olympics and all these interesting brands. And tell me, let's start with Sesame Street. Let's just go there for a second. What did you do with Sesame Street? What did you learn there that prepared you for what you're doing now?
So it's a good question. When I started applying for internships during my college career, my parents actually said, don't focus on only finding an internship with what you think you want to know, figure out what you don't like. So I took an internship. I took an internship doing accruals, on a production. I love the person, didn't love that experience. I worked on production. I worked in development. I sat in the edit room. I did as much as I could in the area that I was studying in college to see what I wanted to do when I graduated, because these internships are the only opportunity for you to learn as much as possible in a short amount of time. So if you're dead set on, I only want to be a comedy writer, nothing else, don't pass up other opportunities. But for Sesame Street in particular, that was your question. I was actually there when the puppet Abby Cadabby was
I'm
introduced.
very
So
familiar.
yeah. So it was, so what my job was, I was a post-production assistant. So once the show was shot, I sat in the edit room, watched them lay in the music, watched them do the
Wow.
voiceover work, cut things out. And then because I was the most trusted intern, I got to bring the Abby Cadabby puppet back to the Jim Henson studio, which was the coolest thing ever. But it was really,
Whoa.
it was really amazing because I always thought that I wanted to go into children's television. I majored in television, minor in education. So getting this experience, because so much of what is in the foundation of Sesame Workshop is research on the age group. I learned so much about the writing process, production, and post-production. So I really got to see everything that happened there.
Wow. Students, teachers, show of hands. How many people think that's pretty cool that she delivered Abby Cadabby to
It
the
was
Jim
incredible.
Henson studios? I mean, I have an Abby Cadabby in my son's crib right now. That is such a well-known character now in the world, not just America. And you were
Right.
right there at the beginning. That is so interesting. So thank you for sharing that. I want to pull some questions from students
Sure.
and teachers. We have a question from Karen Slothalber. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. And she said, if you're a student in high school or college, what is the best way to start to get this experience? You just mentioned internships, but let's say right now internships are pretty hard to come by because of the way of the world. If you are at home right now or you want to get into this industry or learn, what would you recommend to students that they start doing today?
So the beauty of the position you're in right now is that you are starting totally engulfed in technology, and you have all of these apps and websites at your fingertips to learn and be skilled in them before you get to your career, whereas I had to learn everything and catch up in real time. So there are a bunch of apps and websites and programs I would say to familiarize yourself with. I could put them in the chat, but for example, it's Canva, Adobe Spark,
Ooh, these are
iMovie,
good.
figure out how to use Facebook Business Messenger, Facebook Sound Collection. I'm
Oh
putting
man,
it
are you
here.
writing this down, everybody? She's putting
Hold
some
on,
good
I'm
stuff.
putting it here. I'm putting it here. Hold on. I know
Canva,
Canva is amazing, but you guys, we didn't know about this when
right.
I had to catch up. So
You
now
said
you
someone said I
have,
use Adobe Spark in my class right now.
great. You're already
Um,
using some of these, like because of COVID, like my 7-year-old learned how to type this year. That's something I took a whole class on, typing, in middle school. So you're already you're already using the tools that you'll need to be proficient in a few
I love
years.
it. So, even if you're sitting at home, you can still open up some of these free tools and just start playing around. And
Yeah.
there's nothing stopping you from doing that except your own desire, right?
Yeah,
It's how bad do you want it?
you can start an inspiration Instagram account just to learn how to use the insights. Switch it over to a
Cool.
business account and start learning what these insights mean, and reflect on your analytics and see what you can be doing to make changes, because that becomes your case study for an internship. You're not just walking in and saying, I'm interested in social media. You're walking in and saying, I did free assets for my local pizzeria. They posted it on social, and here are the analytics from it.
And if a student did that on their own and showed you, what would you say?
If I liked the design, I'd say,
Well, just, A
yeah,
for
no,
effort,
that
right?
we want to see drive. We want to see drive. We want to see you taking the initiative and be creative and um, want to learn more. So that's impressive.
That's right. Just to show, look, especially at a young age, you may not make the most beautiful things. It's not going to always be perfect or near perfect, but it's just showing that you're willing to do the extra.
Absolutely.
Okay, another question, because I left out another one of your great previous experiences. Tell us about your experience at MTV. What did you do related to MTV? And how did that also impact what you're doing now?
So I always knew that I wanted to work at MTV, and I applied to literally every job on the job board. And an opportunity came up to work in the programming department, which I knew nothing about, but it was to be their mobile programmer. So I would decide, if you downloaded the app back in the day, before the real app, I decided if you're watching a true life marathon, I decided which episodes go in order so that it made sense. If you're watching an episode about this, you're not all of a sudden watching a completely random episode. There's reason behind these marathons. It was also based on ratings. And then actually an assistant position opened up in the comedy and animation department, which is where I had always wanted to be. It was a job below me, and I took it immediately because I said, I don't care what it is. I want to be on that desk. I was the assistant to the senior vice president, and I to this day tell my interns the best years of learning were being his assistant, because I heard every single phone conversation. I learned how to negotiate. I learned how to talk to talent managers. I learned why things were good or why things didn't make a cut. I learned everything being on the phone and listening. I listened for a full year, and I left that desk having more skills than any other coordinator or manager once I got promoted.
Wow. Question for the group. She spent an entire year. What was she doing for that whole year? I mean, she was working, but what was she doing? Tell me in the chat. Such an important, underrated skill. Less talking, more listening. That is a great, great lesson. And I want to direct us to our worksheet because we have some questions like, what is an interesting fact you've learned about her? She's already given us like 100. So make sure you fill in an interesting fact. Okay. What she recommends you do as a student to get started. She covered that. And even our last question about if you were going to write her a thank you note, which is also a great move to do with someone you're interviewing in front of. What is some advice she would recommend? She just covered that. So we could already fill out our whole worksheet already, and we still have several minutes and several more questions to go. So go ahead.
Somebody asking if they can unmute to ask a question because they can't tell if their questions are being seen.
No, we're going to keep you muted, but please put your questions in the Q&A area. It's hard to get them in the chat because they fly up the list. So put your question in the Q&A. We already have some more, and I want to pull some more out.
I also have two other just business recommendations.
Yeah, go ahead.
One is to never address somebody with hey, always hi or hello. That is a huge pet peeve of mine. And also when you're attaching your resume, a lot of us have our file on our computer that just says resume. So when I get 14 resumes and they're all saved to my desktop, I have to open them up to see who they are from. So I would recommend saving your resume as first name, last name. And maybe even honestly, make your file names have your email address too, because then they're all on my desktop and I know who you are.
Boy, this is some really good stuff. Raise your hand if you're getting some serious real world advice right now from Marnie. I want to see all the hands because this is what it's all about. So she said to use hi instead of what? What word did she say not to use? And I agree. It's too casual.
Oh man.
Don't use hey. She's telling you right now, she sees this, you're out. Well, or at least you're going to have to work your way back up into her good graces, right? So really good stuff. A lot of good stuff for our worksheet and for discussion in your class after today. Question from Jalen Gray. And you talked about it a little bit with the adaptive runway going virtual, but how has COVID-19 affected your business? How have you had to pivot and adjust?
So the beauty of social media is that we haven't really had to adjust. I would say the most exciting part about right now is that people on my team are traveling. You know, we have somebody who is usually in New Jersey and she gets to be in Colorado for a few months. So they're checking things off their personal bucket list. And because we are so strong in what we do year round, people are leaning on they're leaning on our skills now to say, you do this all the time. You're great at crisis management. How can you help us now, right now?
That's great. Yeah, businesses that are online focused didn't take as much of a hit as a brick and mortar or like a physical events planning type of a business where that really slowed down. Question from Carly Pearl. She said, is it valuable to become Adobe Photoshop certified? How far should someone go in the Adobe world? Your perspective.
I think it's expensive and I don't think you need it right now. I would say wait until it's wait till you're in a position that you know you'll definitely be needing it all the time. And honestly, sometimes your company may pay for it, your certification. So unless you find yourself using it almost daily, I would say you likely don't need it.
Okay. A question from Diane Cohen. She says, what if you have lots and lots of certifications for skills, but not a college degree? Would you require a college degree to hire? Is that a prerequisite for you? How do you assess a candidate?
It's not. I think that I would say that the life skills are more important to us. If people, I don't care if you're college educated or not, if you make a better graphic for my client and you have the right business skills and life skills, that I don't know that it carries as much weight as it used to when I went to college. I would say that college was still an incredible experience and I learned so much from it. I think there are ways for you to prove yourself in a work environment, and you can always take online courses or go back to school if that's something that you want to accomplish. But I understand not everybody has the ability to go to school for whatever the reasons may be.
So experience still counts a lot in your
Absolutely.
book.
Absolutely.
Okay. Question here from Proctor High School in Vermont. Hello to the folks in Proctor. Let's talk about something that is a little bit different. You know, you could have just worked for someone else for a long time doing social media, doing these things, but you decided to start your own business. So what were the biggest challenges for you starting the business? Because that's a different set of issues than just the work you like to do. You have to also be the business owner.
Right.
So what was that experience like back in 2015 and even through today?
Yeah, I think that instead of challenges, I'd like to focus on lessons. I think the first thing is to trust your gut, whether it's and knowing your worth. A lot of times when people start their own business, they automatically just assume that means discounting. I definitely did that, and it's taken me many, many years to stop doing that. Just knowing what it costs for you to run the business and what you need to make it successful, and have a long-term strategy. You can't run anything kind of by flying, on the seat of your pants. You have to have a real strategy in place, and you need to find people that you can trust. I'm the type of person who has a hard time letting go of control of things. It's something I'm working on, and finding the people who you can really trust to hand things off to is very important.
Let me ask more about that question because when it's our work and we do it and we know how to do it, it's like sometimes the expression, if you want it done right, you do it yourself, right? But you know that your business can only go so far if it's just you. So when you are looking for people to help you, what do you look for in that person? Maybe even beyond their Instagram skills, what else are you looking for in that person to trust that they're going to be the right fit?
Yeah, I think that you need to find people who are going to be team players, people who if they come to you with an issue, they also come with a solution. It's not helpful to come and complain and not have a solution, whether if you're the issue or a client is the issue. I want to know that you took the time to stop down and think about, I'm challenged by this, but this is what I plan to do.
I like that.
I do love people who take initiative to say, this client keeps talking about this. I've done research. Their competitors are doing this. Do you think we could try this? Or do you think we could approach the client with this? Or, we actually read about Clubhouse. I don't know if you're familiar with that app.
Tell us more about it. I've heard a little bit. Raise your hand if you've heard of Clubhouse. It's a new social network that I don't know a whole lot about. Some students, tell us more, well, from what you know, what is it?
So it's a drop-in audio-only chat app. It is really incredible, and it's a great opportunity for you to just listen. I don't know if it's age-gated, but if it's not, you guys should all.
Audio only, okay.
Right. So anybody can be invited to speak up on a panel, and you can unmute yourself and speak. Otherwise, you just are in there as a voyeur listening to the room.
Wow. So would it for students, if they're, I don't know the age limits, if it's an 18 and above or not, but would it be a place they could go and learn from people and listen to people?
Absolutely. There are rooms I actually was in a room that lasted for 12 hours. I went to sleep and woke up and they were still talking.
About what? About what?
Um,
What was it? 12 hours.
yeah, it was an East Coast versus West Coast conversation.
Oh man.
Uh,
Okay.
and they actually have, there's a bunch of like breakfast clubs, they call them, where they have strategists, a lot of marketing rooms, people starting their own business.
Wow.
It's really great. I would definitely check it out. If you're under 18, make sure you have permission to use it. But
Yeah, I did see a person had posted that it's 17 and above. I'll have to check on that. I don't
okay,
know, but if it's appropriate in your school
great.
to do it as a group, it could be an interesting place to listen and learn. We're learning so much today about really what's on the cutting edge because Clubhouse is one of the newest things out there. And we're hearing from Marnie, and she's already explored it. So this is really good stuff. Question here from Shelby Weber. And Shelby, if you're a teacher or student, if you hear that, tell us in the chat what school you're or what city you're in. She said, how did you use social media to grow your business? Right? Because you're in the business of doing other people's, but you needed your own customers. So
Right.
how did you do it at the start? How are you even doing it now? How do you spread your own word?
Thanks, Shelby. I do need to put more effort into our own business.
Okay.
But no, what's great is you, whether it's our business or any other client, you have to come up with your social pillars, we call them. And we make sure that those are 5 to 6 non-negotiables that you post about every single month so that we know when we're creating something we call a rollout plan, we have the photo and the graphic and everything has a reason to be posted. So if it's a small business, if it's a restaurant, you know that you're going to talk about specials. You're going to talk about, employees. You always want to give everybody who works there a shout out and make them feel appreciated. You want to talk about any changes, whether you're doing curbside pickup because of COVID or, Super Bowl, you start promoting in December. So knowing that you're ahead of big specials and making sure that you're thanking the customers for coming to, and you have those pillars that you hit every single month. So you know that you're training your audience to know what to expect from your business.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you for that. Question here from Bethany in Kansas City and her students. Thank you for being here today. This is a really good question. I like this. What types of projects, like students raise your hand. How many of you are making an e-portfolio or digital portfolio or physical portfolio of your work? How many students are doing that in any class? It's become very popular in schools. What would you like to see in a student's e-portfolio if they came to you for an internship or for a job, or you're flipping through? What things would jump out to you?
For social media specifically?
Or just, yes, or just, to show you their chops.
I think that writing skills are important for all industries. If you have a writing sample, if you have obviously your clean resume for social media, even if you've never had an internship, what would be great to see is you take a screenshot of a current Instagram grid, you have their colors and font listed, and then your inspiration board of what you would have done differently to show that A, I know you understand the business, B, you're pretty good at graphic design or could figure it out, and C, you're showing initiative and showing that even if you don't work for them, even if you go do Chipotle's page, just to practice and see where you need to brush up on your own skills or that this is something that you really are interested in.
Wow, what a great idea. How many of you like that idea of taking a brand and showing your own take on that brand to show that you're thinking about this exact work? That's really good advice for an e-portfolio to showcase. Okay, I have one more question, and then we're going to do a little bit of a wrap-up exercise, and then we'll finish with discussion again. So, okay, this is a little outside the box, but Ms. Jalen Gray asked some good questions in the chat. She said, "What can you explain the artwork behind you?" And I want to know too. Tell us more about the art.
Fantastic question. Well, I actually was in HomeSense, and I saw this artwork and I loved it. And what's so cool is that I flipped it over to see who the artist was. And it was a woman who said, you know, I want to represent millennials across the country, and I'm inspired by our age group and the artwork that we're drawn to. So this was made by a millennial for a millennial. I got it at HomeSense for a great deal, and it's way more expensive than it is. So thank you.
It does look more expensive than it is. And that's the whole game, right? You
Yes.
know, that's a great question. And it's a good wrap up question for this part of our discussion. So, okay, hang with us, Marnie, stick around. We're going to do a little exercise, and I hope you'll appreciate this one too. I mentioned to teachers that we're going to pass out some worksheets afterwards.
Okay.
And one of the worksheets is about professional etiquette in text messages. Because at our company, we teach that you need to be business appropriate at all times, especially when you're going for a job. You cannot assume the person wants you to be casual just yet. You haven't been hired. You don't know the way that they work. So we have a worksheet for students to learn etiquette. I want to share that with the group. Okay. We can see my screen. You see this Word document? Yeah. Okay. So let's say the employer sends you a text like this. Are you still able to make the job interview on Tuesday at 11? Now, I want to see in the chat, if we want to be the most appropriate and professional as we can, show me what your response would be to this chat in the text, in the chat to this text. What would it look like coming through your phone? Your response. Let's say you can make it and you will be there. How would it look? Let's see it. I want to see some students take a chance and show me what appropriate looks like. Teachers can show me too. Oh, I like those. Yes, I will be there, period. Or yes, I can make it. Yes, I will be there on Tuesday at 11. That's even better because you are explaining the time again. What would be your take, Marnie, when I mean, you probably wouldn't text an applicant this way, but let's say the employer is very casual, or even you're testing the student to see how do they react. What do you think of these responses in the chat?
I think they're great. I actually was going to type mine in too. Yeah, I'll put mine in too. Let's see what you think, Danny.
The guests are held in a different category, but I think I'm seeing a lot of good responses here. This is what I want to see, because we want to show the students that no matter what the situation, we are always the ones in control. We control our own message. We control how people view us. And it often happens with our words, in our emails, in our text messages, in our resume. Our words are how we are judged. And it goes down into, well, you're quick. So that's a really good, everybody take a screen grab of her response before it flies away. I am looking forward to seeing you Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. If you need to change the time, I can be flexible all day. Tuesday, see you then. That's a good response. That shows the employer this person is on the ball. Not only that, they're answering that. You know, a lot of people don't even answer, right? But it's a great answer. So teachers, and I'll give you the offer again. That's a worksheet with several other examples like that, so students can practice professional text messaging. So as starting to wrap up, and we'll finish at 2:15 Eastern time, I want to reiterate the free resources that I told you about at the beginning. Okay, so for those who came a little bit later, missed it, we've put together a Google folder of worksheets and presentations for effective business communication. Also, a checklist of how to look your best in a virtual presentation, all in one Google folder for you to use and share with students and other teachers. If you would like it, please type interested and your email address in the chat. I want to mention it one more time for those who missed it. Interested and your email address. And for those who are new, we like to do a brief 5-minute phone call to say hello, understand what you're teaching, how to fit this into your world. Again, this is for the teachers, not the students. The students, it'll get down to you through your teacher. Okay, so this is a teacher resource. I want to mention it one more time. Thanks to those who are requesting it. I want to make sure you know. And lastly, our next webinar is on the 10th of March. the world of practicing law with 2 veteran attorneys in Washington, D.C. And finally, those who came today and who will watch it later through our recording, we will give you a certificate tomorrow morning to show proof that you were here and you learned a lot of great advice from our guest. And for those of you who ask, because people always ask, yes, we do record the webinars. They will be on our YouTube channel, and we will put out the link Friday morning, tomorrow morning. So just look out for that, and we will get it to you. Okay, we have a few minutes left. Got through all the housekeeping a second time. Let me start another question for Marnie. So sort of like a wrap-up question. You know, students today, they may be very interested in this career path. And I know we talked about some practical things that they can do. And let's just say that they feel like right now the world is hard, a lot of doors are closed. What would you say to a student who feels like, I just don't know if I can do this right now because there's too many obstacles in front of me? What would you say to that student?
I think knowing what you are or are not ready for is the first step. Knowing that you're taking care of yourself and you're listening to yourself. If it's too stressful, we don't necessarily look at resumes and say, you had 6, you had 4. We're going to take this person with 6 internships. Just work on your mental health right now. It's a tough year. I think that everybody is got to give each other breaks here. Mental health is most important. But when you feel ready, I say start with research, which you're already learning to do. Research the industry, the players, follow them on LinkedIn. There are a lot of creator groups on Facebook. So if you have any interest in anything in the creative space, join those groups, listen, jump in, and ask people if you can hop on a Zoom with them. I mean, a lot of people do have Zoom fatigue, but if there's someone who you're really interested in and really love what they do, it can never hurt to send a message. One of my life lessons is the worst somebody can say is no. If you don't try, you're never going to hear yes or no. And you'll find that a lot of people do say yes. People are definitely more available than they've ever been before.
That's true. That's true. But let me to kind of bring this full circle. If you're going to reach out to someone, wouldn't it be smart to say, I looked through your portfolio, I listened to your TED Talk, again, just like we did with your adaptive runway, if we're going to ask for someone's time, we first have to validate that we respect their work by being very specific. Do you agree?
Yes. I want to know why. A lot of people think you're just reaching out because you need an internship or you want that person to be a stepping stone to something else. I want to know why this conversation will be valuable to you. And you'll find that a lot of people do want to help you. So
That's
do
right.
your research, be very open about why you're reaching out and kind of know written down what the goals of the conversation have to be for you.
That's
What do
right.
you want to learn from this conversation?
That's right. I always say it's better to ask for advice than to ask for a favor. You're going to get that conversation much faster if all you want is to learn and there's no expectation that you want a job. However, by asking for that conversation, it might lead to something, but you're not going to get someone like you're not going to stop and break from your day if someone's just coming to you looking for an internship. That's not the way to get your 15 minutes. You have to come at it more of a teach me kind of way, than just like give me something. And that's important for students to understand. With our final minute, can any student tell me in the chat or a teacher from the student something that you learned today, a new tool you could use, some life lessons? Can someone tell me something that they picked up today in our chat? We'll just end with that. Don't say hey. Really good one. Really, really good one. Anything else we learned today? Canva is an important tool. Text etiquette. There's too many things. I'm trying to see them. Do your research. Make sure you have the space to mentally refresh your mind. Very important. Don't ask for favors. Be advised. The resume should include the first name, last name, and email in the file name. That is brilliant. That's next level stuff. That's stuff only from experience, but she's sharing it with you. Assistant positions are where you listen. Ooh, I really think we got through to him. I think we did. We really did.
I know we're wrapping up, but what's really exciting is, if you don't mind me. giving a
Please,
quick little plug.
please.
So we are an agency that focuses on millennials because we are millennials, but we know that there's more to come. So we actually launched a company, well, not a company, a website this week called Generation Ahead HQ, where we're studying Generation Alpha. Those are the kids born between 2010 and 2025 who are not really being spoken to or about yet. So if any of your middle school students are interested in writing, we actually have an opportunity for you to have a byline on our website. You could talk about literally anything. The website is
Yeah, please put that in the chat. Wow,
well,
amazing. This is real.
it's not
Is it not live yet? Okay.
it's live. It's just it doesn't look great.
Just
but
tell the teachers how to contact you about that.
yeah. Here, you can email me. I'm putting my email in the chat.
Teachers, grab that. She's
Yeah.
offering a chance for your middle school students to, wow, that is so cool.
Or even if you're in high school and
High school too.
are super interested in toys for 6-year-olds, if you're a toy designer, or TV shows for if you have a sibling who watches, we want to hear from everybody. So
amazing. I'm so glad you mentioned that. That was worth going a little bit over time to give them a real tangible opportunity to start creating their own portfolio.
Yes.
So thank you for that offer very much.
Thank you. It was so fun.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. I think this was valuable for everyone. I learned things, as I try to learn every day, from other people too. And my thanks to Miss Blue for her excellent work doing the sign language throughout. I want to thank everyone for being here. I hope we'll see you in a couple of weeks. March comes quick, by the way. March 1st is Monday, so look out. And March 10th will be here soon, and we'll do all the world of practicing law. So my thanks to everyone, and I hope you stay safe in the snow and everything we're going through. Stay safe, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Thank you again, Marnie, for all of your thoughts.
Thank you very much.
Bye, everybody.